why I always say China, China, China?
So lately I've been getting a lot of people asking me why I'm interested in China.
Chinese, you left China, you immigrate to the US. What are you like? You're not getting it, are you? China is gorgeous. China is magnificent. China is ahead of everybody. China is powerful. Like what is wrong with you? I understand if you're from the Caribbean, if you're from Latin America, if you're from Africa. Yeah, I mean it kind of makes sense. But like you from China, like what are you doing? Oh, what? Okay. I mean, you're probably running away from something. Like you're probably a criminal, or like I don't know.
Why so many Chinese immigrants everywhere? Because Chinese has been here long enough to figure out one thing. Maybe you haven't figured it out, that you don't have to stay in the same place to feel proud of yourself. Okay, so have you heard of Chinatown? Okay, even if I'm the only family in town, my home is Chinatown. I don't need to be in China to be proud of China. You will get that one day. 5,000 years.
There's something that I want to mention in this compilation, and I want you to listen kindly. Let me know if I'm making sense. What Chinese view as suffering in their country and makes them run from their country is what Americans say that they are lacking. It's what they refer to as progressive. They say they have let go of that, and that's used to make them a better country. Like the way education system is done in China, the way hard work is revered. Like that's what they say. We have lost this in our society, and those are the things that Americans look at and are like, okay, I would want to raise my child in China so that they can value hard work, so that they can go through this tough education system and understand the value of life. But on the other hand, sound controversial, Chinese who also run from China also go to America to have it easier. But do they really have it easy? I don't know what to think about this. This is the nature of human being. If you watch these two clips here, you will understand.
Oh my god, this is so true. I swear, there's one thing about Chinese education system, it's fucking tough. I'm talking about like, it's just really tough. When you're competing on that level, like it is just work after work. Anyone who went to like a prestige Chinese school in China, like university, their IQ is off the chart. Like they're either that or just work hella hard. Like they come to US, they're like, oh yeah, this is a joke. I just need to have some social skills and I'll make it. Like I'm deathly afraid of any like Chinese people coming from China that went to these schools. They're just on a next level. Like I don't know what spectrum they're on, but like just different. But you know what's really bad about Chinese education systems? The teachers. They're so rude, so mean. Like they don't sugarcoat it. They're not like, oh, Timmy's doing okay, blah blah blah. No, they're like, Timmy's terrible. You need to do something. Fix him now or he's gonna fall behind. And he has already fallen behind. Now get to it. Yeah, teachers are straight up like savage, if you know what I mean. I don't know, maybe. I mean, you're definitely gonna produce a lot of very smart people when your school system is so tough, but I feel like, you know, there's a lot of emotional damage, and I feel like everyone learns differently. Not everyone is good at learning under pressure or good at learning through tests. I think China sort of have a standard way of doing that. Like, actually, they kind of learn it from US and rest of the world. But I really think it's a balance between how to learn and how everyone learns differently. I think in many US schools or schools around the world, we try to balance that. And we can learn a lot from each other.
So lately I've been getting a lot of people asking me why I'm interested in China. Over and over again, I will have conversations where I bring up the fact that I studied abroad in China and that I'm wanting to go back to China and work. And people ask me point blank, why? The United States is here. China is on the other side of the globe. It's a big change to make. And to a lot of people, when they hear I want to do that, they associate it with a bunch of risks. And there's all kinds of uncertainties that can happen with making that kind of a change. But I realized I've never actually made a video for you guys about why I study China. I've given you all the timeline. I've told you guys about the fact that my dad worked as a professor in China for a little bit in the 90s. I talked about how I started studying when I was 15. I went to China when I was 16. I went back during my undergrad. You guys know I just got back from getting my second master's in China. You know the timeline. But when it comes to the emotional motivation, I don't think I've ever really revealed that. I have always had a hard time communicating myself. It's funny when I say this because a lot of people view me as someone who's very well spoken. I've never struggled when it comes to public speaking. I have always been very clear when I speak, and I've always been very mindful of my words. But internally, I've always felt like I wasn't quite being understood when I would say things. My words would always be interpreted a certain way. I would always be confused by the way my stuff was being interpreted or thrown off. There was just this constant frustration that I would feel, often to the point of being emotional, because I couldn't quite get my words out in the perfect way to be perfectly understood. And it was upsetting because in my mind, I would know exactly how I felt or what I wanted to say or what I wanted the other person to understand, but then it wouldn't come out correctly. When I went to China for the first time, I went to Qingdao, which is a coastal city in China, and I went to a high school. I was there for about a month. And what was insane is despite being in a different country, with a language that I was not fluent in yet. I had only been studying Chinese for 1 year at that point. I was 16 years old. When I was in Qingdao, I felt for the first time that I was being understood by the people around me. I felt comfortable. I felt at ease. And I hadn't really felt that to that extent before. It was a really crazy experience. And I think that's why it was so hard for me to leave. A lot of people talk about experiencing culture shock when you're in China. But for me, what I remember was how hard it was for me to come back to the US from China. I went to China, I felt understood, I felt like I was connecting with people. And then when I went back to the US, suddenly I was back in this place where I wasn't able to experience that anymore. And I was understanding just how much was missing. Being understood is what motivates my interest in China. It's a little bit embarrassing how much of my passion for China is really me projecting. It's kind of the thing that I want for myself. Where I'm like, man, I really hope more people will understand me, and I really hope more people will know who Susan is, who I am as a person and as a whole individual, right? That's like my favorite thing is whenever I feel seen and heard. It's the best feeling in the world. And I have absolutely projected that desire when it comes to my studies on China. And it made me so upset when I went back to the US and realized that China was not being understood. That when China was being analyzed, when China was being studied, it was done with this either fascination, like this fixation and fascination with an other, or it was done in like bad faith, where people were analyzing with this preconceived notion that anything that was happening was inherently going to be bad or negative or aggressive. Like no one was taking it at face value. No one was just seeing what China was saying or what China was doing and just going, okay, let's look at this. Let me understand you. Every so often, someone will want to give me advice about my TikToks. And one of the things that people who are unfamiliar with my content will say is that, oh, you need to make your content more like snappy, attention grabbing. It's got to be that short form. You should do like these little like news grabs and stuff. And I've, tried to do that in the past, but I always stop doing it because I don't want you to have a surface level, this is what's happening in China. Now you get the big picture, la 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 la, you're up to date. I don't want that. That's not my motivation. I'm not trying to make sure that you know every single headline that's happening. This is why my content is often so long, because my big thing is making sure you understand what's being communicated. So I use all of the words that I can, because I want you to get all of the sides and all of the details, and I want you to have it all in your hands so you can look at this whole picture and go, wow, and interpret. I don't want to give you a sketch. And when people hear that, like their first interpretation is that must mean that I want everyone to go, China's the best. And it's like, no. When people study China, and this goes for, I'm sure this applies in like studying anything, of course, but just for me with China specifically, it's like, I don't want it to be a still thing. I don't want you to be going in and studying and just going, well, this is what it has been, is, and will continue to be. I want your studies to be this living, breathing, changing, evolving, developing thing where your views change, where the interpretation changes, where the country that China is able to change. It's not stagnant. I want things to be complicated. I don't want things to be black or white. I don't want things to be simple. I don't want things to just be labeled. I want things to be nuanced. I want things to be difficult to explain at times. I want that to be accepted, and I want other people to navigate through that with me. That, I think, is my motivation when it comes to China studies. It's so many things. And it's absolutely one big fat projection. And maybe there's something bad with that. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to post this and someone's going to go, hey, that's like a super, super flawed thinking. And that's really, really problematic. Maybe. I don't know. But I feel it deeply in my heart and soul. And it's gotten me to this point. And I think it's led to me having a very exciting and fulfilling experience so far. I don't know. I think that could be the best mindset to have when it comes to studying, countries and different cultures in general, is this desire not to label, but rather to understand and communicate to others. Because it's nearly 2 billion people living in a country. Of course, it's going to be the most complex, crazy, interesting thing ever. Countries are full of human beings, and human beings are complicated and weird and difficult and confusing, but also incredibly valuable and important and deserving of being understood, because being seen and being heard is the best feeling. Not because someone's wanting to fix, not because someone thinks that you're, not doing good enough or something like that, but just someone being there and going, yeah, I get it. I got you. I think that's my motivation when it comes to studying China. That's why I do it.
Why I always say China, China, China? That's a very good question. But let me put it this way. If you have seen China close up, as I have, if you have experienced the Chinese miracle as I have, if you have seen what China has done for its people, and not just for its people, but for the world, you too would be saying, China, China, China. Anyway, what do you expect me to say? USA, USA, USA? No. China has earned my admiration.
You understand that we are global beings, and there's nothing limiting you to live in your country. So you are free to discover. You are free to go around and get new perspective and interact with new people, challenge your worldview, and that's what makes us humans. Why is that when a Chinese move to America, they are always seen as a spy? You're running from poverty, you're running from this, you're running from this. But what are Americans also running from when they go to China? Better living condition. Is that so? And what could look better for an American in China could not also look better for a Chinese in China. So that's why we have to move around. And people are afraid to do that. Why is that hard to understand? So that was it about this compilation. Like the video for recommendations, subscribe if you're new here. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Do not hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comment section, guys. I want us to forward this conversation in the comment section. I know we are going to unpack a lot there. I always love reading your comments. You can as well thank me to the thank button. Join the family. Join the channel kindly. Thank you so much for being here. I love and appreciate you. Goodbye for now.